I mean, I'm sitting at home. And all right, I'm not on tour. I'm not playing. I'm not throwing anything. Let's do art. Like, let's do something to like. I sit up to try to be at a table with a desk, my computer, and try to start working on some art projects. I can't do it. I gotta lie down. Only thing I can do is just watch old episodes of The Simpsons. That was it.
Talk about it.
Big Jerm, two-time Waco champion. Jerm, you were dealing with some pretty severe back issues last year. What have you done to get to the point where you're out here throwing shots again?
Well, that was it was a pretty long, drawn-out system of going to different specialists, chiropractics, different doctors that had sports medicine therapy, and basically was trying to look at it from every single view I could. Holistic versus Western medicine versus, going to this kind of doctor, that kind of doctor. And basically the number one goal for me was just to get back by the USDGC. Once I'd missed the World Championships, I was pretty certain that that was going to cause me to miss a lot of tournaments in the Northeast, which is like my favorite stretch of the season. With the I got a long history at formerly the Vibram, Maple Hill, now MVP Open. Those events mean a lot to me, and it just eventually I saw the right person. We did the right combination of tricks, and the release of the inflammation around the joint that was causing the nerve eventually freed up, and the pain was gone, and I was out walking again. And within a week of the pain going away, I was able to play without pain. And it's just crazy to go from so much pain that was so debilitating, where I couldn't walk, I couldn't do anything, I couldn't think, to being fully active in just a matter of a week. And it was just it's just crazy what our bodies can do for us, and it's also crazy what little tiny thing can set off something that could just make you crippled. But I mean, I definitely have an appreciation of the fragility of what we do, and how our bodies, go through so much, not just through the twisting and torquing of our body to make the disc fly, but also the travel. There's a lot of time in the car, there's a lot of time sitting down, and if you don't have proper posture, you're gonna eventually see the ramifications of that. And it also ties into having a healthy diet and all those things. Once you start getting into your mid-30s, I'm 34 now, so I appreciate those things so much. Just realize you have to take care of yourself if you want to do this for a living.
So, you're a lifelong athlete. Can you talk about the mental struggle of not being able to do your favorite thing?
Well, I mean, I'll be candid with you. I cried a lot, not just in pain, the emotional pain of not being able to be out there with my closest friends and doing what I love to do and what I've made a life out of is incredibly difficult. Ulibarri, who had an equally, I don't even want to say equally as bad injury, his injury was even worse because it caused him to miss 2/3 of the season last year. And there was a time last year when he didn't think he was going to come back. And so, Yuli's been one of my closest friends since we met 12 years ago. And, we consoled each other quite a bit and just kind of keeping up with one another and giving each other encouraging words. And, but it's difficult, it's you yearn to play. I'm still in, the period of my life where I feel like I can win any given weekend if I bring the focus and the right preparation into any event. So to sit there and miss the World Championships, you kind of know that, I want to be a world champion at one point, and that there's a certain ticker. It's counting down, I'm not going to be very, it's not going to be very likely for me to win when I'm 45 years old. So if I want to put a good bid for the world title up, I got to do it now.
I know you're really into art, you're into graphic design. And I remember in Vermont, you were showing us this game, and you had hand-drawn, this beautiful board game. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, you're talking about Carcassonne. Ah, yeah. Well, I got into some board games last year with Eric and Tina brought Carcassonne to the Masters Cup, and I think I'd played a game of Catan, or Catan, depending on where you come from and how you pronounce it. But it's just a really fun thing to do. When you're on tour, you feel busy always, but there's enough downtime where you want to do something that's kind of just taking your mind off of birdies and pars and maybe not bogeys, but you want to get your mind off the sport whenever you can. And so board games just happen to be that release, and And I definitely got like seriously into Carcassonne last year. It's just a fun game where you build cities and farms and rivers and fields, and I don't know. I definitely like went full dork mode on it. Like I like totally went in depth. Like I got like the board games, I got like the expansions, I got the online versions of the game, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was definitely something that I could focus on during my injury. Actually, I spent a lot of hours on my phone playing the mobile version of Carcassonne.
All right, so let's shift it just to Waco.
Yeah.
You've always played well here. You're two-time champion. What is it about this course that sets up so well for you?
Well, Texas has a very specific style that you kind of become accustomed to with the types of trees and the types of ground play, but Waco doesn't really fit into that stereotype of what a Texas course is like. So it's kind of a relief. You're coming down here, especially this time of year in early March, and the temperature's nice. When I checked my temp earlier, it was like 82. So I mean, it's nice to be here first and foremost. My family's from Dallas, so my mom's side of the family's from Dallas, and so I kind of feel like I'm a little bit close to my roots as well coming here, and that's just like setting up for the actual course. And when you get actually onto the course, it reminds me a lot of my actual home in Charlotte, North Carolina. There's a nice mix of open and wooded holes, and so that way you really showcase the player with the best range of shots. I love a course that can be a tour venue that can challenge shots under 300 feet that are short and technical, that have interesting greens, some higher elevated baskets in places, and it just makes you think. And when you get into a course where you get the same shot over and over, people can get into a rhythm, get really comfortable. But out here, it's constantly keeping you guessing and making you change the angles of your discs. And a lot of times you throw a lot more understable discs. And for me, that's always been a personal preference. With my forehand, I've always liked to control an understable fairway drive or a mid-range and have it flip up and fly straight in these woods. And it's paramount to hit the fairway. And that's something I feel really comfortable out here doing. And if you get off the rough, you're going to see some double bogeys quick because it's really thick. And so, it just reminds me of home. And I just think it's a fun track to play. It's not, obviously Macbeth shot 18 down. Not going to happen this year. The pars are a little bit more, I think, pro standard like this year. But you're going to still see a lot of scores that are low to par. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's nice to have a course that's attackable, but you're still going to see guys coming in around even par that are not going to be happy. But at the same time, it's a reality of this course. It can get you.
I think when I think of your game here, I immediately go to tournament hole 4, where it's just like it goes right to left, but it's just the dream sidearm if you can pull it off. If you're one of like the few people in the world that can. How excited do you get when you walk up to that tee pad knowing that you're one of like a handful of people that can execute that flippy roadrunner turn over that flexes out the hands? Yeah.
Excited that's a word for it. I would say I'm definitely like hyper focused on it because that one is so particular. That hole's just barely over 400 feet and plays as one of the hardest holes in the course. And anytime you see, and it's a completely fair hole. So that's like the crazy thing about this. You don't see that on tour very often. So the reason is obviously that's like prime example number one of the tough fairways. If you're off the fairway, even if you're on the fairway but you're not in the right part of it, it is impossible to get up and down for your birdie, and more likely bogey comes into play. So it's excitement is, there's a little bit of that stepping on the tee pad, but there's a lot of just like, you have to execute this. Even though this shot does fit into your wheelhouse, it's not exactly done until a disc's out of your hands and you've released it right. And you have to trust it. Throughout the season, your discs wear differently, and by the time you come back the next year, the disc that you had that was prime for this one might be a little bit too understable. And so it's really important to not only trust in your shot, but also to have the right tools for that hole. Because if you don't have the right stability, that hole is just all about angles.
In the past, we've seen sidearm players play pretty well here in general. We've seen you, Nate Perkins, play pretty well here. Do you think the sidearm player has a bit of an advantage on this course?
I think James Conrad would say something about
yeah,
that. I mean, I think it definitely plays advantage. I think it plays an advantage anywhere you go if you're good enough with your backhand that you can, trust both shots equally. But yeah, certainly out here more so than other places, just because it's a lot of like being in a slightly awkward lie where you have to step out and have a step out forehand for your approach. Being able to throw that shot with confidence and not have to second guess yourself is a huge part of being able to execute the shot. And I don't care how good you are, you're going to have to throw forehands out here. I mean, it's just there's just no way to avoid it. So being able to throw a forehand well, not just off of an approach shot, but off the tee, it's a huge advantage. Some of these holes are so tight and they bend off to the right, or even the ones that go off to the left kind of open up more for the forehand and hyzer. So I think that's why you see forehand players doing well out here, and I certainly think it's a big advantage if you can trust yours.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of that's not a really good transition. But anyway, I saw you and Brody standing next to each other, and they kind of like hit me. Dang, these are two guys, 6'6", ultimate players converted into small players. What have you noticed watching Brody like convert from like he's got the same body structure?
Yeah.
What have you noticed from his like development that is similar to your development when you were at his stage?
Well, there's not too many similarities, honestly. He is an actual ultimate player, one of the best of all time, and I was as amateur as you can possibly get. I only played in 2 tournaments. I just loved flicking a disc when I was in college, and I technically did play for the club team, but that guy was, icon. So, but what I can tell is when I see him throwing a forehand, I can see you played ultimate. He has a very ultimate looking forehand. He's really great at standstills, and we're working right now on getting him a little bit more flow into his run up so he can transfer that energy into his shot and not have to throw super hard with his arm. He definitely just exudes ultimate with his form right now, and that transition can be a little bit difficult, especially if that's the only type of lid that he ever threw. A disc is obviously, as we all know, it's quite a bit different, but he's got the power. Clearly he's a stronger, he's a way stockier up top than I am, and he once he figures it out and he starts getting limber again, because he's taken a year and a half I think off of disc sports, and he was really focused on golf for a while and did other things, and he really hadn't thrown a disc in a while. So now that he's actually like getting back into it, he's slowly getting his body back into shape, and it's really interesting. He's only been playing disc golf for about 70 days, and here we are. He's the topic of every conversation, and I think rightfully so. I think he's bringing a huge amount of great attention to the sport, and I really hope that he does well this week and shows people that if they commit themselves to it, that they can be good in a pretty quick period of time.
Any predictions on how he does tomorrow?
I think he's gonna. If it's not too windy, I think that he'll shoot a little below par. I would imagine somewhere around that. If it's windy, I think you learn a lot about your putt, and you learn a lot about. He's still learning about his discs. So like he's still in that transitional period where he's working discs in and out left and right, and he's getting great advice from obviously Macbeth, the best player in the world, and he's getting the best possible tutor you could ever have. But that being said, it's not going to ever prepare you for a real tournament situation, and this weekend when it might rain a little bit come Friday and Saturday, and it maybe is a little windy tomorrow. I don't know if it's going to be windy or not, but if it is, you can play as many practice rounds as you want, but when the camera's on, not that should distract him too much, but I mean, and we all know it's a different game. So if the conditions are fair, I don't see him struggling that much. But yeah, he's gonna get his butt whooped, and it's gonna be awesome. He's gonna enjoy it. We're all gonna tune in and watch it, and it's gonna be great.
That's awesome. Last question for you. So the Pro Tour made the decision to move the FPOT times later in the day. And one of the things that I was thinking about when we did that was, when are Big Jerm and Nate going to have to get up to do commentary? How does that affect? So we did at the Memorial, and John was getting videos out like so early.
Yeah.
What are you guys having to do different because of the adjustment?
Well, we actually didn't do anything because of that adjustment, but we happened to bring a new member of the staff on that is taking care of the follow flights. And that relieves Mike, our editor. He's also doing the catch cam and the follow flight, which is what Mike was originally responsible for. So now Mike can spend his time editing and knocking that out. So it's a little bit more efficient. We're taking that oil and we're dripping it on the machine, and it's getting better and better every single year, every tournament. And so at the Memorial, we were actually able to do commentary the night of all 4 nights. And that's something that we've never done before. We've done commentary at like midnight to 1 a.m. if someone had like a super early flight the next day. But we've never actually like planned on doing commentary in the evening. And so if we can continue doing that, then it'll allow us to do our commentary at night, go to sleep, and just wake up like it's a normal event and just do our normal morning routine like we did before commentary. And so the earlier tee times, I think that it's a good thing for flow of play. The one thing I would like to see is maybe on the last day, if there is going to be a cut. I know there's not one here at this event, but if there's future cuts, I'd like to see maybe half the MPO field go and then all the FPO field go, and then followed by the top half of the MPO, or maybe 4 cards of MPO. But I think just with the amount of spectators that we're still getting, the difference between the FPO galleries and the MPO galleries, I think you're going to want to have that drama unfold in front of the biggest crowd at the end of the event. That's just my personal feelings on it, but I think it's fine. I think that, it's not really going to affect us as our commentary. It's our job, so we treat it as such, and if it means we got to get up a little bit earlier, we get up a little bit earlier. It's it's really not that big of a deal.
You mentioned, you're still on the World Championship, obviously.
Yeah.
And we've been kind of talking to some other players about what is the prime for disc golf gives. Golf sometimes is between 30 and 40, but
yeah.
We're seeing all these young kids come out
yeah.
and just completely tearing it up. So what are your thoughts on maybe what the prime?
I think it's all about a mental maturity. I think that the prime can be your physical prime. Like, I think my physical prime is passed years ago. When my metabolism was still high and I could eat whatever I want and I'd still be skinny, and clearly that's not the case anymore. So my physical maturity, or my physical peak, is probably 3 or 4, maybe 5 years in the past, but my mental maturity is always getting stronger and stronger. And as we know, golf is a mental game, so I think that the best product that you can bring to the course might not be until you are 40. But as it compares to the younger game and the younger players that are more athletic, they're coming up with a history of disc golf where they learn how to control their emotions way earlier before I did. I didn't find the game until I was 20, and I went through a range of emotions where, I was honestly, I'm trying not to cuss, but I was a jackass on the course. And, I was fun to play with when I was playing well, but, if I wasn't playing well, it wasn't enjoyable. And it was something that I had to fight forever in my career, and I'm still working on it. I'm always getting better at it, but at the same time, I'm human, and it exposes some of the most raw emotions you're ever going to see in a human being when you're playing on the course and things aren't going your way. And if you can battle that and you can conquer your own mental demons, the physical stuff kind of just comes with the momentum from that, I think. And I think that a player can win. We saw Johnny McRae almost win the USDGC several years ago, and he would have been the oldest major champion ever. And he had obviously a famous blow-up hole in 17, but he wasn't at his physical prime. He was at his mental prime, and he almost took care of one of the biggest tournaments in the world. So I don't think that there's an age limit on when you can win a world title. It's just all about, really, it's a matter of being lucky and having, not just luck, but having all the elements come together. Your physical body is ready to do it. Your mental acuity is there, and you're focused and you're prepared, and you just put yourself in the mix, and crazy things can happen.